Welcome to our continuing series, Interviews with Aurovilians. And today we have Kireet back with us for another session. We were talking about your school and the children's attention span.
Yeah, as a teacher, I noticed, of course, and I knew that for myself also, that it's very difficult to keep the attention of the children for some time. But by a good story, I noticed their attention was becoming longer and longer in the years I was teaching them. Often I was hoping not only 1 year, but 2 years, and my school management allowed me often to have children for 2 years. And then after the summer holiday, you just continue. You don't have to learn to know them. You know already their stronger and weaker sides of their learning abilities or character or whatever it is. So you can just continue. And I noticed that the writing also was very limited, but by exercising it more or less on a daily basis, that increased a lot. So I could tell stories sometimes for 45 minutes and still have most of them.
Ooh.
Of course, you never know that some might dream of or wander off, that can happen, but in general, I could keep their attention very long. And it's a matter of training, I guess.
The children here, some of them have graduated now?
I'm talking about my
Holland.
teaching experience in Holland.
Yeah.
I have been teaching for about 22 years, 23 years. And when I came here, I wanted to do something else. Yeah, and that was mainly, I was hoping more to work for Matrimony Gardens, which finally became more Gaia's Garden. In my heart, I'm a gardener. I was a teacher, maybe it's the same, because you have to give attention always, either to the child or to the plants.
Who were some of the people who you
I came here...
became friendly with or had work experience with?
Yeah, I wanted to go to India because I was interested in yoga. It was not easy to come here because the first time I tried to come in, the war broke out between India and Pakistan. I was just in the train between Peshawar and Lahore when the war broke out on the 5th of December 1971. So I couldn't enter India. Of course, that time also I didn't know about Auroville. I had read a bit of Sri Aurobindo, but that was very difficult to comprehend for me that time. But I knew him by name. I had to go back. I went back to Tehran. I had an operation on a tooth and I ran out of money, so actually I had to go back to Holland. But for the last moment, I found a job in Tehran. I became a salesman in Hilti Gun Tools. I had to roam down the street of Tehran and try to find construction companies and selling them. And with that, hoping to make enough money to go again to India. I succeeded in that, and then I was about to go to India when I was offered a job as a teacher in Tehran for 2 years, a contract. Was also a very nice girl, Dutch girl. I had a party with the ambassador. I had to learn to know him already in Baghdad, where we camped on the premises, and he was transferred to Tehran and was invited for Queen's Day. So they offered me that job, but I felt strongly I have to go to India. So I declined all the offers and I went hitchhiking down to Khorramshahr Abadan, and I was hoping to get a ship. I had a shipping book, so I was able to work on a ship, find a ship to India and work there. I managed to get on a Dutch ship. They were about to take me, but when I said I want to get off in India, he said no way. I said, I'm sorry. I had to travel with them the whole world.
Oh no.
And I couldn't get off in India. And still I felt very strongly, I have to go to India. So I refused, and I went hitchhiking on, and finally I came in Karachi. I fell ill there, and I had an address of Franciscan priest. And they treated me, and they said, what do you want to do in India? I said, I want to study yoga. They said, well, we have a brother there, and we have his books. And that was Ruud Lohmann.
Oh my goodness.
So I read all Ruud's books,
Oh.
which were 3, 4, I think. And the two last, especially the very last one, was about Oroville. It was translated in English, All Things New. And it appealed very much to me, these stories of him about Oroville and Sri Aurobindo and the mother, and his experiences there. But actually, I had an address from my yoga teacher in Bangalore. So I went first to Bangalore. I flew from one of the brothers, to Mumbai. From Mumbai, I had to deliver a letter for one of the brothers in Goa, and then I took the bus to Bangalore. But in Bangalore, when I went to that address, I could only follow lectures on Sunday, and that was it. Well, I felt that's a bit a waste
Not
of
quite
time.
enough.
So I thought, with the book of Ruud in my head, I took the bus to Pondicherry. It was not so easy that time from Bangalore to Pondicherry, and then in Pondicherry I said I have to go to Oroville, so it was another bus. It was a school children's bus or so. And then at a certain moment, I think now back, it must have been Hope somewhere there, they dropped me. And I said, I'm looking for Ruud Lohmann. I said, well, if you walk straight, you will find a big hole, and probably he will be at the bottom of it.
Oh.
And I start walking. And it was 21st of May, so it was quite hot. And it was just red desert, and there was nothing. And I felt so happy. I was walking in bliss. I felt I was coming home. Of course, I didn't know where I was coming, what was the matter. But I had an intense, happy experience of homecoming. Then I met somebody on the road. That was a Jesuit priest. He was a friend of Ruud. William
Netter.
William Netter. And he passed by. And then later, when I met Ruud at the bottom, William Netter was talking to him, and he looked at me and said, you were very happy, eh? I said, yes, I was very happy. Anyhow, Ruud was...
How old were you then?
I was 21.
My goodness.
Yeah. Anyhow, I was very kindly received by Ruud. He was living that time, it was called Peace, later they called it Camp, as you know. And I could stay in his hut for 10 days. I slept there, and I met Helen Krankola for the first time, and Sadhana, she was there. And yeah, Loretta.
Yes.
There were more, of course. I met Big Pete. And
Pete. My goodness, no one has talked about Pete.
Yeah. Anyhow, to continue,
Yes.
Ruud received me, and then Twan came.
Oh.
And I think you put Twan or Ruud with you together. He said, there is a storeroom in the nursery. And so I shared with Twan the storeroom in the nursery. But Twan was very sure what he wanted. But I want to continue my trip. I was making a world trip for so many years. And I knew my friend who we split up because he couldn't get a job in Tehran. He went back to the Netherlands, make enough money there, and then come, and we would continue our trip. So I couldn't say I will actually... the secretary that time, Sham Sundar.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm here now, but probably I won't stay. My friend will come and pick me up. And he considered me as a special case. So I could stay. I could stay here. He let me stay. And anyhow, Twan got nice from Prosperity, mosquito net, and all the things. Well, I was just sleeping outside. So in the night, often I slept under the banyan tree or in the lotus bud, because there was a bit of a breeze, so it didn't have too many mosquitoes there. Anyhow, later you put me in the pump house. There was an old hut, and I started cleaning it up, and then Judith came.
Judith.
And she said, oh, I thought I could live here. I said, well, don't worry. I will have to go soon, so we can share it. And there was also a hammock outside, so I mostly slept in the hammock outside. And Judith later said, already that time you were busy with water. Because we were trying to make a bit of a garden there. And anyhow, then my friend came and I left.
And you left Oroville.
I left Oroville. I have seen Mother. At a certain moment, Ruth said, "This time for you to see Mother." Oh. So I went there. And of course, first you had to ask permission, so a photo had to be taken.
Yes.
And it was very strange. There was a friend, he was not allowed, but I was allowed. And then I thought I was part of a group, but somehow I was taken out of the group and I had to go first. So
into Mother's room?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I remember very strongly that she looked old, and all the people around her, they were somehow mothering her. And I had a feeling, stop mothering her. You know. Anyhow, I had to kneel down in front of her, and she looked very attentive for some long time. And then she smiled at me. She didn't say anything, she smiled, and I went out and I started crying. Mm. I was very young. I was probably very naive, but still it made a very big impression on me. And that's probably why I came back. Because after traveling for 2 years around the world, I went to Australia, made enough money, and suddenly my mother remarried. She had been a widow since I was 6. And as I made good money in Australia, I was laying pipes as a subcontractor for a sewage company. And then actually when I came back, I didn't want to stay in the Netherlands. I wanted to come back to Oroville. But I had a fiancée, we got married, and she was not so much liking me to talk about yoga or about Oroville. But finally in 75, 76, we came here for 3 months.
Oh.
And then I was hoping that she would like it and live here. That time we stayed with Mali, but mostly we were in the international guest house in Pondicherry, and we went cycling every day to Oroville in that way. She liked the experience, but not to come and live here. So I chose for her. I became member of Oroville International Netherlands, and then I started fundraising for tree planting. And that time I supported Meenakshi School. So I did, with the children of my class, we had in November, 11 November, we had an India evening. And then we raised money and we could send 2,000 euro to Meenakshi, and they were writing letters, my children, and making drawings. Meenakshi's children were doing that. So we had a very nice interaction. One of them, he is now a plumber, and when my borewell breaks down or the pump, he replaces it, and he said, yes, I remember that we were writing. He was one of the dropouts. And then I started raising money for tree planting. I was very successful. I had that time two times 20,000 euros, which could be sent. So even what's his name, Mauna's husband, he came especially to Holland. Yeah, so somehow I was involved with Orville, but from the Netherlands.
Do you remember what day you went to see Mother?
No, but I must be able to find that in my diary. I found out by chance that 21st May I came in Orville, and that is also my marriage day with Kaya.
Oh.
But I didn't know the dates that time. It was just what's coincidence. Yeah. So then in the 90s my life changed. I had a divorce and it was difficult. There went a no-nonsense wind through the Netherlands, education-wise and maybe also otherwise. Became very bureaucratic. You had to write a lot of reports. You could not teach the way I felt, which was good. So somehow I didn't like it so much anymore. I was very much restricted in my teaching. And then also because of divorce, and then I thought, I have always wanted to live in Orville. I go. And then I had my Gaia's garden, of course, where I also had built a house for my mother. So she was living next door. So I said to my mother, I think I go to Orville. And my mother had been with me in Orville in 85, 86 for 4 weeks. She said, do you mind if I join you?
Oh.
I said, are you sure? Let me go first and prepare, build something, and then you come. No, I want to experience everything from the start. So my mother came with me, and she did duty in the Matri Mandir. She cycled every day to Matri Mandir, up and down. And she was with me for 7 years, and thanks to her I could create Gaia's Garden, because we put our money together. We could buy 2 acres of land for Orville and create assets there.
What was the price of land in those days?
I paid about 4 lakh an acre, and altogether with paying tax and some Orville contribution became 5 lakh an acre. They said that time it was already expensive, but I said then prices won't go down, so better I buy it now and don't wait another year. People wanted me to wait, but I waited already 24 years before I came to Orville, so I didn't want to wait too long anymore.
So your mother enjoyed Orville?
Yes, she was very happy to have experienced it. After 7 years she went back. She got older. She was that time 79 when she left. She came when she was 72 and she left when she was 79.
Fantastic.
She was very strong, but finally the amoebas got her and somehow she infected herself, and that time healthcare was not so easy. And then Albert, who was part of the health center, he said, she might not live long. So my mother said, I think I go back now. You will manage now without me? I said, yes, Mama, I will manage without you now. So she went back, but she lived another 14 years in the Netherlands. So she recovered. Normally when you have amoebas, the stool test has to be done within 1 hour to find it. But of course in the Netherlands they don't have the experience except in the Tropical Institute. So I insisted through my sister that they really check that. So they did the treatment once more, and then she got rid of it, and she was very fine.
I had it for 5 years.
Yeah. It was so difficult here. I had it also several times.
You did?
Oh yeah, gotcha. You could smell that.
And that flagell they gave you was worse than the amoebas.
Yeah.
Now it's improved tremendously.
Still sometimes I had it, let's touch wood, but a year ago. And then you vomit and you dehydrate, and then I know I have to go to the hospital. So I said, you put all the poisons and I have to be on the infuse, so they put it in. And then the anti-vomiting medicine, and then within a couple of days I'm on my feet again. But that is one of the things here. On the other hand, healthcare improved a lot.
Yes.
I had a back operation in Apollo, which was done very well.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't complain about it. I have a very nice doctor in Oroville, but also in Pondicherry, from New Medical Center, Dr. Sundaram. He's a devotee of the Mother Sri Aurobindo. And he cured me of a stomach ulcer. He did small skin operations on me. And, yeah. I think I don't complain, because if I hear in Holland you have to have permission from your house doctor to go into a hospital, which is not always easy. Here, if you're not satisfied, you just go for a second opinion elsewhere. And
Sure.
yeah.
Tell us about Gaia,
My wife.
how you met. Yes.
Yeah, I met her a year after I came here, and that time she worked in Portus, and I was very impressed by her because she was very friendly and she remembered all the names of the Orvillians. That time Portus was like a lunch center before Solar Kitchen. So we met them, and then a few years later we came together as a couple.
Where is she from?
She is from Korea, so yeah, it is a total different culture. But very beautiful country also, very interesting. So whenever
You've been there?
Yeah, several times.
Oh.
Because now we go to the Netherlands to see my children and grandchildren, and we go also to see her mother and her brothers and sister. Yeah, so I like Korea very much. It's a beautiful country. 80% is mountains and forests. So when she does the family and the friends visit, I go in the mountains and I reinforce my heart and by climbing up and yeah. So I'm very happy. She got very much engaged in the guest house. She's very dedicated. She's doing now the office work. So that is a big relief for me because it became very complicated. She has to register all the people online for the foreign Indian authorities, RRO. And she does that very dedicated. She organized the breakfast for the guest, which I didn't want to do that time because I felt I'm already so busy with all the things. But she did, and it is a good thing. So now we can give fruits from the garden, papayas, boulegards, guavas, and later the avocados.
You have chicus also?
Yes, chicus, yeah. Tomatoes, many things grow now. Yeah. Most happy I'm with the avocados.
Yes.
Yeah.
I started them in the nursery. We had 3 trees.
I don't
And they
remember
did
that.
very well, and now there's all over Oroville, I guess.
Yeah, and they have them in Discipline, I know, Oro Orchard.
Oro Orchard, yes.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the flower significances and how you've learned them, how you work with the flowers.
Well, of course, I was very happy to have your books, and still I have that. In the Netherlands, I already had a small book, but of course you are very limited. But of course some are there. I remember in springtime this Purity, the botanical name doesn't come to me.
Convallaria
Yes.
Maialis.
Right.
Yes.
I liked it so much.
It's,
and it has
it's
such
so
a
beautiful.
You had them also in the States?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And they grow just wild, eh? And that actually I like the most. That you have your plants, you have them there, and they take care of themselves more or less. Don't have to see them every year again.
But the fragrance.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and of course in the Netherlands you have your springtime. The winter is much too long. Eh?
Is it really?
Well, you see, before it really becomes nice, sometimes you have already in January some of them, but depending on. But then it gets very cold in February suddenly, so it spoils again. So, yeah, we say March is wagging its tail, means very irregular, April does what it wants. And as I had bees, May was also not always happy.
Oh.
Because in May you get, of course, all the beautiful spring flowers like apple, pear, and plum, and others. But if you don't have good weather, they don't fly. And then they are not able to do so. Yeah.
Oh. So flower significances, are they important to you?
Yes, they are important to me. Of course, experimenting with the plants in Gaia's garden, you try to get as many as possible, which of course was not always possible. I remember I have now a few, like the yellow hibiscus. You plant them, but they don't stay. They die sometimes. The Oroville one is incredibly strong, so I plant them more and more out.
Yes, I saw them. I was absolutely amazed. And,
Yeah.
and there are a number of flowers they call the Oroville flower, but the one you have is the true one.
Yeah.
And it's such a
And that is
beautiful
just
shape.
lucky that I have it. Of course, I try more, and I have now also, and I forgot the name, but a very beautiful orange one. It was just flowering the day when you came, and it survived. So I think in the beginning, my soil and the circumstances were not so favorable, but I'm also hoping in the years to come, whenever I see a nice hibiscus along the road or whatever, and it is the favorable time for planting, I bring it home again.
Oh, wonderful.
And of course I make cuttings, and the cuttings, that goes nowadays much easier. I don't have to put it first in a pot.
You were mentioning that. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that. Because
So
that's
when
very interesting.
when it starts raining in October, and then when I get confidence, oh, this is a really good rain, I go in the garden, I make the cuttings, and I look, this is a good place. And if it is an hibiscus and I want to have them now on a long stem sometimes, then I have this drill, which we made once holes in the service tree in the ashram,
Yes.
in the samadhi. With my drill, I make a deep hole, maybe about this much, and I put it in, fill it up with just soil or compost. And of course, if it keeps on raining, it goes very well. If the rain stops, which happened this year, it was like teasing. You had 2 days good rain, so I got very confident. But then 2 weeks dry. Of course, then every day, 2 times you have to water and you hope it survives. Not all do, but yeah, several did. And then I prune it up, and then you got more. And like this rose they do in Holland, I thought that must be possible also with hibiscus. And as hibiscus likes pruning, it is...
Yes. And you're also doing orchids.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that initially because, oh my God, I have already so much work, and then also 2 times a day you have to spray it. But okay, at a certain moment I felt, now I try it. And from Matri Mandir nursery, there I got some of them. Later I got some more from botanical gardens, from Paul. They didn't want to give all, so once in a while I have to go again and see what they have. Now you told me a new method, which we started immediately.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Wonderful.
So now in the morning we give a little bit of fertilizer, and in the evening with the puali, the water can, we flush it. So let's see what happens.
Good.